Good morning, daily huddlers. I have a question. I'm feeling giggly this morning. So, Kathryn, I got to ask you, how many tickles does an octopus need?
I have no idea.
10 tickles.
Oh goodness. Oh my goodness.
But 8 would be enough.
That is so horribly good.
Do you think you laugh the hardest though, Tara?
I know, because, that's how I roll.
Right. You got to keep it going.
Hey, good morning, daily huddlers. Today is Wednesday, November 30th, which happens to be the day I was born on. So we'll get to that later. And I woke up this morning and my flight was delayed, so I got to get on my Peloton, which I hadn't planned, and that's when I heard that fabulous joke. Welcome to the Daily Huddle on Wednesdays, where we talk everything communication and relationships. And before I dig into our very juicy question about family trauma and wounds and how we can heal from those, I have a few questions to get us in the perfect place. And I think I would love to start with Stan this morning. Good morning, Stan. Tell me, how
Good morning. Happy birthday, Tara.
Thank you. Tell me, how are you and who will you hug today?
I am, I'm fired up. And I'm going to hug my granddaughter today.
How nice. I'm envious of that. That is fantastic.
And one of my granddogs.
Oh.
Because they have 2 and I've only hugged 1.
Okay. Wow. Lots of hugging. Lots of grand hugging. I love it. Tom, tell me this morning, where are you and what are you grateful for?
Well, Tara, first of all, happy birthday.
Thank you.
I am right here, and I am grateful for the opportunity to be with you all and learn so that I can apply.
Excellent. Excellent. Thank you. Thank you so much. All right, Gio, tell us before we kick this baby off, what time is it?
Good morning, Tara. The time is the time to celebrate your birthday. And it happens now.
I love it. And there's no better way to start my birthday than right here with this loving tribe of folks. And no offense to anyone else, but my favorite loving person on this screen is my co-host and treasured friend, Kathryn Sabol. And I'm going to turn it over to you to kick off our question for today.
Thank you, Tara. Happy birthday. Tara mentioned at the beginning of this call that her birthday on a Wednesday will happen only once every 7 years. So at the end of this, we have an ask and a juicy conversation about that and something that might be fun for you guys to help us out with. So stay tuned for that. Yeah. And so this question, this very light, airy question of how do we heal family wounds? It's a big one. I have to tell you, I was like, ooh, did we bite off more than we can chew on this one? But it came up because we're right in the middle of Thanksgiving and Christmas, right? We've got holidays, we've got Hanukkah, we've got all these different times when family get together at this time of year. And I don't know about you all, but that can be tricky for me. Family, it's funny, there's a spiritual guru, Ram Dass, who I adore, and he's famous for saying, if you think you're enlightened, go home. Because you are most definitely going to be triggered in some way, or could be, maybe there are people out there who aren't. So we want to dig into this of how do you heal from family wounds? And talking about this, Tara and I have 2 different ways of managing this. And I know we like to give the answer sort of out at the outset. So I want to start with the first step, which is acknowledging that you have them, right? Like we all have them. And when I heard this the other day, somebody said, if you've ever needed to go to therapy or thought that you have something that you need to work on or something happened to you in your childhood, it's because you were raised by humans. Like everybody's doing the best they can. And none of us are going to get it right perfectly, so we're going to come away with things that we need to work on. So Tara, you and I were talking yesterday, and I want to hear your version of this. So ours are different. Mine is this. I had a lot of trauma growing up. I had some really rough things happen to me, and that manifested in the form of an eating disorder. And so that was food was the way that I could find solace and respite, and I could, escape for a moment, sugar specifically. So that became full blown. And so much so that in my 20s, I went into an eating disorder facility and have dealt with a lot of this for many, many years, and would not say that I'm there by any stretch, because I think it's a lifelong journey. But what happens to me sometimes is, despite all the work that I've done, both on myself and with my family and my parents, is that when I go home, I can get triggered and find myself right back there in old patterns, standing at the cabinet, eating things, doing things that aren't good for me, drinking too much alcohol to cope, even without noticing it. But I continue to go home and work on this and be part of the family and be part of all of this, right? Because it's important to me. Now, Tara, you have a very different way that you've dealt with things in your childhood, upbringing, even in adult life. And say a little bit about that so we can start to unpack how different people handle different situations. And, is there a right or a wrong?
I will. But first, I just don't want to skip over the fact of how grateful I think we all are that you have been so vulnerable this morning. And I mean, I know you didn't think I was going to go here, but too bad. You can be uncomfortable for just a minute. You can handle it. Dealing with an eating disorder, I think it is the most evil addiction that there is, because any other addiction, I had smoked cigarettes for years, but you can put them down. You can't put food down. So it's really empowering that you are strong enough to share that. And I just wanted to say thank you.
Well, thank you, Tara. And what you all don't know is that I hate vulnerability. I really do. I hate being vulnerable, especially here, but it's a challenge. My mom actually recently challenged me, said, you need to open up a little bit more. And so Tara's been, saying that. And so it is hard. It's a balance for me between being vulnerable and oversharing. Because we talked about actually in the book Platonic about this anxious attachment that largely came from all of this trauma and past history. And then, and someone who suffers from that tends to overshare. So I never know what's the right thing, but what I do know is that people comment much like you do, that say, we really like to hear about you, and people really want to know who we are, at our rawest, I think, not with all the fanfare. So thank you for saying that. It is difficult, and I am uncomfortable. So you're welcome.
Okay, get over it. But I am grateful. So back to your question though, about family trauma. I think as we really investigate how we look at our childhood and how we grew up and what affected us, that there's a part of us that does not want to acknowledge, unless it was so clearly overt and egregious or even evil, that we don't want to acknowledge that we were raised by people who were anything less than perfect, because they did their best, and we want to honor them and we want to show gratitude. When we do that, we're denying our experiences. And just because things were difficult growing up, things were hard on us, that's partly what makes us who we are today. We all know that. And I don't think that it serves us in any way to just say, my mom was the most loving woman. My dad did the best he could. He maybe wasn't cut out to be a father, whatever the case may be. When we try to diminish it and minimize it, we can't heal from it. And I don't think we can move on from it better for it. And so for me, the things that were traumatic growing up in my childhood were not nearly as significant as yours, not even close. My trauma came later, but there were things that were hurtful and painful. And I have protected myself by not leaning into a relationship with a parent as much as I could. And for a long time, I felt guilty about it. And so one of the things we want to share today is forgive yourself. Know your boundaries. And I've had to do that. And I think it's okay to protect myself.
Yeah. So Tara, you distance yourself. That's your boundary. You pull yourself away. and I continue to, because the other thing is, if my trauma's in the past, this particular one, and, I've dealt with the wounds and healed a lot with my parents. And, so there's not a consistent nobody's abusing me in the moment when I walk into the room. Nobody is screaming at me. That is a different story. So, but it is interesting. So when that's happening, that's totally different. Having a very strong boundary of that's not okay with me. I need to step out or go somewhere else. But when we get triggered into the past, when it's not happening in the present, that's when I think it's an opportunity to heal. That's when it's time to step out and say, I wonder what's going on with me. How do we protect ourselves? So I think the interesting thing here is you decide to step away and not have that relationship. I've decided to go the opposite direction. I have a sister who really won't come home for Thanksgiving. Didn't come home for Thanksgiving, won't come home for Christmas. That's her boundary. So proud of her that she will have that boundary. It's not mine. It's not the experience I want to have. And it's okay. I can respect that and say, wow, that's what you need to do. And that's okay. I think that's the big message that we want to get across, that whatever it is that you're doing to take care of yourself on your healing journey, because we are all on one, is okay.
Thank you. Thank you for that. So you also, though, once we move on from just accepting it and forgiving ourselves for however we need to deal with it, you had some tips that like before you step back into what could be triggering for you, because it's the same people in the same setting, even though those difficult
are different
experiences, I'm trying to be careful with my words, difficult experiences are not in place, it still can cause you to go back and relive the trauma. So how do you prepare yourself for a family visit when you have those memories?
Yeah, it's a really good point. A good question. So I had the experience recently of this, walking I went back to my dad's house with my kids, and I think I just had it in my head it was going to be a certain way, and it wasn't. And I don't know why I made up that it was going to be that way. It was a way, I mean, like he's a great grandfather. He is, and he's different. He likes to sit in his chair. And I had made up that it was going to be this great family day, and he was going to be rolling around on the floor with the kids, which just isn't reality. So I'd built up an expectation in my head. So I got really triggered, right? Got home, dealt with it, realized what I'd done. Go back on this recent Thanksgiving, but with a whole other set of expectations. The part of it is lowering our expectations. It doesn't have to be the greatest vacation, greatest family holiday ever. You just go have a meal, be with family, and go home. And that's great.
Yeah.
The other thing is how do we take care of ourselves? Like, I need to get out and move my body because I freeze. We have fight, flight, or freeze. I freeze. So I just like deer in headlights. So if I get out and move my body, I start to get them, so I was like, we're playing football, we're playing soccer, we're going to be outside. I'm going to take one on the walks, so getting into my body is always a good answer. And the other thing is being vulnerable. I did say earlier, I hate vulnerability. It's not that I hate it. I really just dislike how uncomfortable it makes me feel. And talk to another person, let them know what's going on. Have somebody there who can be that person for you. It was Tom for me, actually, on Thanksgiving. Just, throw a glance across the room at me if you, notice, or, just have somebody else there who knows what's going on that you can lean into, because we all need support. We say that all the time. You don't have to do this on your own. Have a friend you can call, step out of the room and call and get some grounding. It depends on how, quote, traumatic or triggered the experience is. Some people can go home and have a fantastic time and it'd be great, no stress. That's just not my experience. I am envious of you all.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So does that help?
It does. And one of the tips is to lower our expectations. And as I think about how that's affected me over the years, I have an interesting experience that I think really highlights the power of it. And I've been with my now husband for over 14 years, but about 6 years ago, we got married. And we had our wedding in our backyard. It was really intimate, and we had these tents put up and everything. And we invited like 34 people. Well, 2 of the 34 people were my father and his wife. And he was 79 years old, I guess, at the time, and very active. He still is, travels all over the world. He did then, for sure. And he called and said, the weekend after your wedding, we're going to Israel with Mike Huckabee, some fancy Republican person and his people. And it's going to take a lot for us to get ready for that. We're not going to be able to come to your wedding. And my husband was so much more hurt for me than I was. I was not surprised, not even in the least. And this has happened a few times over, like they go somewhere because some big celebrity or something. And then the last 2 houses I've lived in, they've never even been to. And it just doesn't hurt me the way it used to, because that's what I expect. That's who he is. That's how he's made. And it's not about me.
Mm-hmm.
And I think part of healing from that and not allowing myself to be hurt and hurt again by not being a priority
Mm-hmm.
is thinking back to how I took care of myself when I was living in trauma. So I was older, I was a mother and living through a lot of trauma. And I decided something. I decided that nobody has power over my spirit. Not a husband, not a child, not a parent, not a boss, not a friend.
Mm-hmm.
I am in charge of my spirit. And that is so flipping empowering when we
Wow.
remind ourselves of that.
That is exactly the word I was thinking. It's empowering. You know, we are responsible for our worlds. We are responsible for how we be. And when we get into that blame, mentality of like, somebody else did this to me, therefore, it's a no-win. It is a no-win situation. Thank you for that, Tara. That's so empowering to think about that nobody has power over my spirit.
Yeah, it is. And it's not easy. It's not like, oh, well, that's good, I'm just going to decide it. But when we do work toward it, it's a practice. And that's so many ways that, my adult children, we still have things that upset us each and every day. We let those feelings in, and then we decide how we want to show up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So again, I think the big takeaway is however it shows up for you, whatever it is. And this can be true for anything, whatever your healing journey is, it's okay. I think we spend so much time in our heads, beating ourselves up, making ourselves wrong, comparing ourselves to others, or to some way that we think we should be, that it robs us of our joy.
Mm-hmm.
So this has been great. And I see we have some questions, and I'm also cognizant of time because we've got a little tidbit at the end we're going to add in. So yeah, it's okay with you.
Before we take questions, let's put a bow on it, and then let's dig into these questions. So
yeah,
how do you, let's answer the question. How do you
heal from family wounds?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think we started to, you say you have to acknowledge it. You have to acknowledge whatever it is that's going on for you, whatever you're feeling, it's okay. Even if I find myself often kind of trying to dumb it down, like, oh, I can't believe I'm still saying this. I can't believe that this still hurts me. And this age, I should be over this by now. That's not doing anyone any good. So acknowledge whatever it is. Your truth is your power. It's your superpower. Own it. This is how I feel. I don't know why I feel this way. This is how I feel. So that's number one. And then you got to figure out, unfortunately, there's no template for doing this. You've got to figure out what's right for you. What are you saying yes to? And what are you saying no to? I'm saying yes to going home and feeling uncomfortable and working through it because I want my kids to have that experience of family. And it's been good. And it doesn't mean it always feels good. It feels awkward. I get triggered. I have to have things in place. And then as always, what's in your toolbox? What are you doing to take care of yourself in situations that can be tricky and challenging? I know connection works for me. I know moving my body works for me. What works for you?
I love it. Thank you. And also to remember, lower your expectations. That you're not still living in it, but in my case, I just have realized that it's not about me. That's who they are.
Yeah. Yeah. And maybe it's also, the only thing I want to say about lowering expectations, you can still have a fantastic experience. Don't lower your expectations that things aren't going to be so great unless you need to. Like you're lowering your expectations of your father because like, this is history. If history is teaching me, this is what's going to happen, and your spirit can still be bright and live and, have a fantastic time.
Yeah. Thank you for clarifying that. That's right. Because I don't want to walk into any family situation thinking, I'm just going to suffer through it.
Exactly. That's not it at all. These are the things that are
Show
gonna
up with
help
my
you.
spirit. That's right.
Yeah, yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, great. Okay, let's dig in. Cece.
Oh, hello, everybody.
Hi.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Because it really does make a difference. Now, because I also grew up in trauma that was undealt with. Everything was stuck underneath the rug. So I came out. Talking, and this is just recently. And I was a compulsive overeater, binge eater. I was always 100 pounds overweight, and then I would lose it and then go back and eat it right back up because of unresolved issues. So now I'm taking the professional help. I'm taking actions. I'm actually not visiting family right now because they're not getting the help that I am. And every holiday, it seemed to be some kind of trigger or some type of fallout that was orchestrated by the other members who weren't getting help. So today I am choosing to be around healthy people. This holiday, I spent time with people I didn't even know and had a good time. And I was so thankful that they were so generous to invite me over and spend the holidays with them. And today I'm doing the self-help. The self-help means it's more than just me going to church and praying. I was injured a couple of years ago, and I noticed the more I touched the injury, the less sensitive it is. So I'm touching those areas which would create trauma in my life. I'm touching them and I'm not sitting in them. So that's the big difference between what I was doing before. I was just covering up with food, coping, looking for different ways just so I would forget it. But now I'm present and I'm powerful. And thank you so much for sharing that. And I pass.
Cece, thank you so much for sharing your journey, and so inspiring, the work that you're doing and that you've done. It's impressive. Thank you. Tom.
Well, thank you, Kathryn and Tara. I want to come at it, ask you a question, say from the Mike angle, Tara. So let's say we've got someone that we care about and we love, and we see them back in a trauma triggered setting. What would you say? What would you offer? As a way to be there to support.
Well, that's an awesome question. And I have a clear answer for me. And that is not to talk the person out of their feelings or diminish them. Quite the opposite. Just sit beside them and let them hurt. And just tell them I would hurt too. That would hurt me too. Yeah. My son said to me recently, he was sad. He missed his 20s. And I said, yeah, you did. And he said, thank you for your brutal honesty, which I took as a little off course there. But Mike doesn't talk me out of my hurt, and I don't talk him out of his. So yeah, totally. Thank you.
I love that. I want to add one thing. Sometimes I can spin in my hurt. I can hang out in it too long. I need somebody to give me a swift kick in the ass to get me out of it. And it's a fine balance, right? But if you see that,
notes here.
No. But if you see that in a person, that it's an intuition, it's an instinct. You go, you know what? I think we can go over here. Follow that instinct. I think that's, yeah. I think both are true.
Thank you.
Validate, but also.
Go ahead, Tom.
Yes, you can validate, but also assist, I think is what you're saying.
Yeah.
What you're both saying. Okay.
Yeah. Awesome.
Thank you.
Great. All right. We have time for one more quick one. Let's see before we get to our goodie. Rashida.
Good morning. Good morning, guys. Good morning, my family daily huddle. Thank you so much, Tara and Karen. that it's so amazing that you came up with that topic. And why I say that is because I am 7 out of, a matter of fact, I'm number 4 out of 7 siblings. I have 3 on my left and 3 on my right. And all of them attack this young woman. And I say, wait a minute. I have moved away 8 years ago from New York, where all my siblings and my niece and nephew live. And they say, why are you going so far? They didn't know that I have a plan. And my plan was to get as far away from all these 3 left and right siblings that I have.
Right.
And trust me, it worked. But still, I goes to the event, and they were like, you know what? We want to visit you. I say, anytime you want. They say, oh, but you're 2 hours away. But one of the things that I take away from this presentation today is how much we have to love ourselves before we able to deal with family issue. Because if you cannot love yourself, you cannot able to really digest all the stuff that's coming your way, left, right. At least I am getting it left, right, and center. My system call me and say, oh, this one say this one say that. I say, listen, wait a minute. Can you go back to her and fix the problem? Because I cannot fix your problem. That's your problem, that's your issue. So this is something that I am so happy that I was at the presentation today, because I am doing it the right way. Don't call me, don't text me, don't email me. Deal with the problem by yourself and leave me, let me heal in myself. Thank you so much, Tara. Thank you so much, guys.
And you know what? That's okay. You're proving our point. Like, however we choose to deal with it is great. Thank you so much for sharing that. This is, as always, has been such a gift and a blessing to be in the conversation with you all. And Tara and I have one more thing to share with you all. Today is Tara's birthday, and a few weeks ago, she invited Tom and I to go to a fundraiser with her and Mike, and we did. This fundraiser is a company called, a nonprofit called Two Sparrows. And Tara and I've connected on having children with special needs. And one of the concerns as a parent of a child with special needs is what happens to them later in life. What happens to them when we're gone? Who's going to take care of them? Where are they going to live? Can they live on their own? I'm not as knee deep in that as Tara is, because my son is only 12 and I'm still thinking about it. So Tara, tell us a little bit about Two Sparrows and what our ask is today.
Thank you so much. I'm taking this time today because I launched a fundraiser yesterday on Giving Tuesday, and today is my birthday, and I would love nothing more for you to take a peek, share the fundraiser, even give $5. But let me tell you about why I'm wildly passionate about it first. My daughter is 30 years old, and she will never be able to live independently. She so wants to be more than someone's daughter. She wants to have a community. She wants to have friends. She wants to have activities. And I am here to tell you that in this country, and particularly in the state of Georgia, there are no options where I would leave her alone. There are no options until now. There is a place called Two Sparrows Village, which was founded 6 years ago, and they finally have their first 4 residents, and they are building a community. And the dream is to put this all over the country. But right now there's one in Georgia, and it is a nonprofit, and I am so proud and excited to help to grow this so that those who do not have the ability to make their own dreams come true have hope because of Two Sparrows Village. So thank you for listening to my shameless ask that you take a peek at Two Sparrows Village, maybe give a little donation, share it with someone whose heart it would touch. It would mean the world to both Kathryn and myself, and all those young adults who simply just want a little taste of independence.
Thank you, Tara, and thank you, everybody. There's a link in the chat, and yes, that is right, Andrea. That is Two Sparrows Village, the link to there. So we're going to close out today, and starting with so much love and gratitude for all of you for sharing your heart, especially you, Tara, and to everyone. And laugh out loud. Laugh out loud. Be tickled, tentacled. Tickled. stress less, eat your plants, give to Two Sparrows Village today in honor of Tara's birthday. Sleep, get your rest, and move that body, y'all. We will see y'all on Thursday on the Daily Huddle and come back next week on Wednesday too. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, y'all.
Thank you, guys.
Bye,
Feliz
Thank you,
everyone.
thank
cumpleaños,
you,
Tara.
thank you, thank you,
Love you
Tara.
all.
Happy
Thank you
birthday
so
again.
much.
Thank you,
Happy
Kathryn.
birthday.
All right.
Happy
Thank you.
birthday, Tara.
Happy
Thank
birthday.
you.
Happy birthday.
Thank
One
you.
love, guys. One love.
Thank you, Kathryn.
Bye.